came from hall and school and street, and found it where it lay. Mother of God, the wanderer said, I am but a common king, nor will I ask what saints may ask to see a secret thing. The gates of heaven are fearful gates, worse than the gates of hell, nor I would break the splendors barred, or seek to know the thing they guard, which is too good to tell. But for this earth most pitiful, this little land I know, if that which is forever is, or if our hearts shall break with bliss, seeing the stranger go. When our last bow is broken, Queen, and our last javelin cast, under some sad green evening sky, holding a ruined cross on high, under warm westland grass to lie, shall we come home at last? And a voice came, human, but high up, like a cottage climbed among the clouds, or a serf or hut and croft that sits by his hovel, fire as oft, but hears on his old bare roof aloft a belfry burst in song. The gates of heaven are lightly locked. Yes. We do not guard our gain. The heaviest hind may easily come silently and suddenly upon me in a lane. And any little maid that walks in good thoughts apart may break the guard of the three kings and see the dear and dreadful things I hid within my heart. The meanest man in grey fields gone behind the set of sun heareth between star and other star, through the door of the darkness fallen ajar, the counsel, eldest of things that are, the talk of the three in one. Yes. The gates of heaven are lightly locked. We do not guard our gold. Men may uproot where worlds began, or read the name of the nameless sin, but if he fail or if he win, to no good man is told. The men of the east may spell the stars, and times and triumphs mark, but the men signed of the cross of Christ go gaily in the dark. The men of the east may search the scrolls for sure fates and fame, but the men that drank the blood of God go singing to their shame. The wise men know what wicked things are written on the sky. They trim sad lamps, they touch sad strings, hearing the heavy purple wings, where the forgotten seraph kings still plot how God shall die. The wise men know all evil things, under the twisted trees, where the perverse in pleasure pine, and men are weary of green wine, and sick of crimson seas. But you and all the kind of Christ are ignorant and brave, and you have wars you hardly win, and souls you hardly save. I tell you not for your comfort, yea, not for your desire, save that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Naught shall be thrice night over you, or night shall be thrice night over you, and heaven an iron cope. Do you have joy without a cause, yea, faith without a hope? Even as she spoke, she was not, nor any word said he. He only heard, still as he stood, under the old night's nodding hood, the sea folk breaking down the wood like a high tide from sea. He only heard the heathen men, whose eyes are blue and bleak, singing about some cruel thing done by a great and smiling king in daylight on a deck. He only heard the heathen men, whose eyes are blue and blind, singing what shameful things are done between the sunlit sea and the sun when the land is left behind. Who's it going to be?
Oh, hello, Yates.
19 rows.
Right.
Egbert, first king of England. The name means bright edge.
Right on.
Edge. Edge.
Book 2, The Gathering of the Chiefs. Up across windy wastes and up went Alfred over the shaws, shaken of the joy of giants, the joy without a cause. And the slopes away to the western bays where blows not ever a tree, he washed his soul in the west wind and his body in the sea. And he set to rhyme his ale measures, and he sang aloud his laws, because of the joy of the giants, the joy without a cause. For the king went gathering Wessex men, as grain out of the chaff, the few that were alive to die, laughing as littered skulls that lie, after lost battles turned to the sky in everlasting laugh. The king went gathering Christian men, as wheat out of the husk, Eldred the franklin by the sea, and Mark the man from Italy, and Colin of the sacred tree, from the old tribe on Usk. The rook croaked homeward heavily, the west was clear and warm. The smoke of evening food and ease rose like blue trees in the trees, when he came to Eldred's farm. But Eldred's farm was fallen awry, like an old cripple's bones, and Eldred's tools were red with rust, and on his well was a green crust, and purple thistles upward thrust between the kitchen stones. But smoke of some good feasting went upward evermore, and Eldred's doors stood wide apart, for loitering foot or laboring cart, and Eldred great and foolish heart stood open like his door. A mighty man was Eldred, a bulk for casks to fill. His face like a dreaming furnace, his body a walking hill. In his old wars of Wessex, his sword had sunken deep, but all his friends, he sighed and said, were broken about Ethelred, and between the deep drink and the dead, he had fallen upon sleep. Come not to me, King Alfred, save always for the ale. Why should my harmless hinds be slain? Because the chiefs cry once again, as in all fights that we shall gain, and in all fights we fail. Your scalds still thunder and prophesy that crown that never comes. Friend, I will watch the certain things, swine and slow moons like silver rings, and the ripening of the plums. And Alfred answered, drinking, and gravely without blame. Nor bear I boast of scald or king. The thing I bear is a lesser thing, but comes in a better name. Out of the mouth of the Mother of God, more than the doors of doom, I call the muster of Wessex men, from grassy hamlet or ditch or den, to break and be broken, God knows when, but I have seen for whom. Out of the mouth of the Mother of God, like a little word come I, for I go gathering Christian men, from sunken paving and ford and fen, to die in a battle God knows when, by God but I know why. And this is the word of Mary, the word of the world's desire. No more of comfort shall ye get, save that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Then silence sank, and slowly, across the sea land, Lord, like some vast beast for mystery, he filled the room and porch and sky, and from a cobwebbed nail on high unhooked his heavy sword. Up on the shrill sea downs and up went Alfred all alone, turning but once ere the door was shut, shouting to Eldred over his butt, that he bring all spears to the woodman's hut hewn under Egbert's stone. And he turned his back, and broke the fern, and fought the moths of dusk, and went on his way for other friends, friends fallen of all the wide world's ends, from Rome that wrath and pardon sends, and the grey tribes on Usk. He saw gigantic tracks of death, and many a shape of doom, good steadings to grey ashes gone, and a monk's house white like a skeleton, in the green crypt of the Coombe. And in many a Roman villa, earth and her ivies eat, saw-colored pavements sink and fade in flowers, and the wind colonnade like the spectre of a street. But the cold stars clustered among the cold pines, ere he was half on his pilgrimage over the western lines. And the white dawn widened ere he came to the last pine, where Mark, the man from Italy, still made the Christian sign.
Yeah.
The long farm lay on the large hillside, flat like a painted plan, and by the side the low white house where dwelt the Southland man, a bronzed man with a bird's bright eye, and a strong bird's beak and brow. His skin was brown like buried gold, and of certain of his sires was told that they came in the shining ship of old with Caesar in the prow. His fruit trees stood like soldiers,
Yes.
drilled in a straight line. His strange stiff olives did not fail, and all the kings of the earth drank ale, but he drank wine. Wide over wasted British plains stood never an arch or dome. only the trees to toss and reel, the tribes to bicker, the beasts to squeal. But the eyes in his head were strong like steel, and his soul remembered Rome. Then Alfred of the lonely spear lifted his lion head, and fronted with the Italian's eye, asking him of his whence and why. King Alfred stood and said, I am that oft-defeated king, whose failures fill the land, who fled before the Danes of old, who chaffered with the Danes with gold, who now upon the Wessex wold hardly has feet to stand. But, out of the mouth of the Mother of God, I have seen the truth like fire, this, that the sea grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Long looked the Roman on the land, the trees as golden crowns, blazed, drenched with dawn and dew impearled, while faintlier colored, freshlier curled, the clouds from underneath the world stood up over the downs. These vines be ropes that drag me hard. He said, I go not far. Where would you meet? For you must hold half Wiltshire in the white horse wold, and the Thames bank to Osenfold, if Wessex goes to war. Guthrum sits strong on either bank, and you must press his lines. Inwards and eastward drive him down. I doubt if you shall take the crown, till you have taken London town. For me, I have the vines. If each man, on the judgment day, meet God on a plain alone, said Alfred, I will speak for you, as for myself, and call it true that you brought all fighting folk you knew, lined under Egbert's stone. Though I be in the dust ere then, I know where you will be. And shouldering suddenly his spear, he faded like some elfin fear. The tall pines ran up tier on tier, tree or toppling tree. He shouldered his spear at morning, and laughed to lay it on, but he leaned on his spear as on a staff, with might and little mood to laugh, wherever he sighted chick or calf with Colin of Caerleon. For the man dwelt in a lost land, of boulders and broken men, in a great grey cave far off to south, where a thick green forest stopped the mouth, giving darkness in his den. And the man was come like a shadow, from the shadow of druid trees, where Usk with mighty murmurings, past Caerleon of the fallen kings, goes out to ghostly seas. Last of a race in ruin, he spoke the speech of the Gaels. His kin were in holy Ireland, or up in the crags of Wales. But his soul stood with his mother's folk, that were of the rain-wrapped isle, where Patrick and Brandon Westerly looked out at last on a landless sea and the sun's last smile. His harp was carved in cunning, as the Celtic craftsman makes, graven all over with twisting shapes like many headless snakes. His harp was carved in cunning, his sword prompt and sharp, and he was gay when he held the sword, sad when he held the harp. For the great Gaels of Ireland are the men that God made mad, for all their wars are merry, and all their songs are sad. He kept the Roman order, he made the Christian sign, but his eyes grew often blind and bright, and the sea that rose in the rocks at night rose to his head like wine. He made the sign of the cross of God, he knew the Roman prayer, but he had unreason in his heart as the gods that were. Even they that walked on the high cliffs, high as the clouds were then, gods of unbearable beauty that broke the hearts of men. And whether in seat or saddle, whether with frown or smile, whether at feast or fight was he heard the noise of a nameless sea on an undiscovered isle. Lifting the great green ivy and the great spear lowering, one said, I am Alfred of Wessex, and I am a conquered king. And the man of the cave made answer, and his eyes were stars of scorn, and better kings were conquered wherever your sires were born. What goddess was your mother? What fay your breed begot, that you should not die with Uther and Arthur and Lancelot? But when you win, you brag and blow, and when you lose, you rail. Army of Eastland yokels not strong enough to fail. I bring not boast or railing, spake Alfred not in ire. I bring of Our Lady a lesson set, this, that the sky grows darker yet, and the sea rises higher. Then Colin of the sacred tree tossed his black mane on high, and cried as rigidly he rose, and if the sea and sky be foes, we will tame the sea and sky.
Yeah!
Smiling Alfred, seek ye a fable more dizzy and more dread than all your mad barbarian tales where the sky stands on its head? A tale where a man looks down on the sky that has long looked down on him. A tale where a man can swallow a sea that might swallow the seraphim. Bring to the hut by Egbert's stone all bills and bows ye have. And Alfred strode off rapidly, and Colin of the sacred tree went slowly to his cave.
Mike, I promise you. Go for it. Also, there's some beer in the fridge inside. If you want beer, that's where it is. There's Jamestown on the stump. Feel free.